Welcome to The Prop Drop. Tune in every week for the best prop bet picks and analysis across all major sports. Brought to you by WSN.com.
Hey, and welcome to WSN's Prop Drop, where we talk the top props across the sports world. I'm Alece Anderson, joined as always by Ryan Sullivan and Adam Forsythe, and we're going to do our best to give you the best locks, most unique props, teasers, parlays. Make sure to check out WSN.com, and while you're at it, subscribe to the WSN YouTube channel. Quarantine life is continuing, and I got to admit, Ryan, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you and the glorious task you've had of moving.
Yeah, well, I mean, that makes things a lot easier. We got really good the first time we moved at the start of the quarantine and packing boxes. Yeah. So we moved into a place and then decided, you know what? Why let this talent go to waste? Let's repack all the boxes. Let's rent another U-Haul and let's go back to where we were. And that's what we did. So. The quarantine life was off to a great start, but could be worse. Not making light of anything, but it was a little bit of legwork to start things out.
I love it. All right, let's get into the steal bet of the week. Ryan, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, if you're not spending all your money on U-Hauls, you can win some money over at FanDuel, and I highly suggest that you give it a shot. Right now, the biggest steal that I'm seeing, Los Angeles Chargers are paying plus 440. That's over 4-1 right now if they take a defensive player first in the NFL draft, and as we'll allude to shortly, I think that the odds are actually kind of decent that they might do just that. It came out on Tuesday, Pro Football Talk talking about it. All of Twitter lit up as well. The Chargers, one of two teams talking with Jalen Hurts, a quarterback that's scheduled to go probably in the second, maybe even the third round, late first if he's lucky, but it looks very unlikely that that'll be the scenario. So with that in mind, the Chargers could select a defensive player, have an absolute elite dynamite defense going into the season, and take their franchise quarterback Jalen Hurts in the second round. And I don't know why the guy's fallen down everyone's QB boards as well. He has a fantastic pedigree, like the work that he put in at Alabama, comes over, starts at Oklahoma, is his last final year there, his senior year, takes them to the national playoff. I mean, the guy's an incredible player, an incredible leader, very mature as well if you've ever followed this guy's career. So I think there could be light at the end of the tunnel there if that's what you're thinking. $5 bet gets you $22. Not too shabby. Check it out at FanDuel.
All right, I'm sticking with tennis, actually, for my steal bet of the week. This time, looking at the Davis Cup right now over at 888 Sport. They've got last year's defending champs, Spain, of course, sitting at the top at plus 225. Serbia's at plus 450. Russia, 650. Australia and France at plus 700. And then last year's runner-up, Canada, at plus 1,000, and I'm digging that one. Canada had their best showing ever last year. Denis Shapovalov especially, but with the help of Vasek Pospisil and Felix Auger-Aliassime. And all signs show these young players are only getting better, so that at plus 1,000, I'm all over it. So again, head over to 888 Sport to check it out.
Well, my steal of the week is a prop being offered up by FanDuel. You can bet on the exact draft order for the top three picks of the upcoming NFL draft. If Joe Burrow, Chase Young, and Jeffrey Okudah are selected in that order, 1, 2, 3, it pays plus 135. Unless a team makes a splash and decides to make a move for Tua, I think that order is a near certainty. You might say it is my steal of the week.
Nice. For our next broadcast, we want to hear from you. Did you agree with our picks? Where did we go wrong? And most importantly, give us your wildest prop predictions from any sport, and we promise to discuss the top comments in next week's show. Be sure as well to like and subscribe for the most up-to-date prop predictions. And before we get to our prop selections this week for our listeners living in New Jersey or West Virginia, head over to WSN.com for special bonuses and deals. If you want to bet on this week's games, you can compare the best legal online sports books and get exclusive offers when you sign up and start betting. With the NFL draft kicking off next Thursday, it's mock draft time. So we start with the Bengals. Ryan, go.
All right, with the Bengals on the clock, there's so many things going on in this draft. There's so many moving pieces that you're like, well, maybe Washington could deal the pick, or maybe Washington can go offense or defense. You never, or Detroit or whoever. This one is a certainty. This one has Joe Burrow written all over it. The guy's a hometown boy, Heisman winner, national champion. He's everything you want in a leader, and he looks pretty damn good smoking a cigar after he wins it all. Not saying that he's going to get that opportunity right away in Cincinnati. Probably not. Most likely not. But nonetheless, throw another feather in the cap for Joe Burrow. The Cincinnati Bengals, they've already got the Burrow jersey stitched and ready to go. I mean, with Andy Dalton's giant salary, he's sitting on the bench. You know he's going to get moved eventually. They gave up on him last year. He's completely run out of second chances. This is Joe Burrow's team moving forward, and Joe Burrow is the selection without a doubt in mind for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you here, Ryan, and you're going to sense a trend if you are checking us out on WSN.com, because we're going to do things a little differently this week. This is kind of the NFL mock draft that we're going to go for. So every single prop this week is the draft order that we think is going to go, and I've already kind of looked ahead at Ryan's notes, and we're going to have some stellar disagreements. But this one, I am on board with you, Ryan. No surprises here. I'm sure teams have called. The Bengals, they are not moving from that top spot. They have long identified Joe Burrow as their future franchise quarterback, and they will be selecting him in just a couple of days. His sample size of success is not exactly the biggest, but in the short time he has proven he has star potential. Cincinnati will not take a risk passing him up here, especially as they seek a quarterback to replace Andy Dalton.
All right, going on to pick number 2, the Washington Redskins. Chase Young at -230, Tua Tagovailoa at +180. Adam, where are you at?
Yeah, well, the pick, at least in my mind, is locked in stone. There is some small potential for some fireworks here because Washington has plenty of options. Teams are looking to move up and make a splash and maybe snag Tua with this pick. However, as we've discussed on recent shows, I just think the Redskins' best bet here is to take the best defensive player on the board, and that is Chase Young. He will transform Washington's defense. If the Skins are looking to improve their offense and their quarterback situation, they can always hit the free agent market with Cam Newton and Jameis Winston still available. In the meantime, I think it would be foolish to pass up on a prospect who certainly seems like he can be an immediate game changer.
Yeah, I fully agree. We kind of kicked it around on the show here and there, or at least I did on Twitter as well, starting a bit of a stir, that maybe the Chargers would be in play here because they need an offensive lineman. Trent Williams is up for sale for a second rounder. Maybe you could get Trent and this pick for your pick, your second, and then probably a bunch of other picks as well. It wouldn't be unlike the Redskins to serve up some picks. They did it almost 10 years ago to the day with Donovan McNabb. But all those talks, all those rumors have cooled, mostly because I stopped throwing them out there. So it looks like, yeah, why wouldn't you go with a generational talent, a potential franchise player? Chase Young is the pick here for sure.
Head to WSN.com for extensive odds and free picks on all major sports. Moving on to pick number 3, the Detroit Lions. Tua Tagovailoa leads that one at +150. And for the first time today, we welcome in our guest NFL analyst and former NFL defensive back, Davis Sanchez, to the show. Davis, what do you see the Lions doing with their 3rd overall selection?
I have a sneaking suspicion that the relationship between Nick Saban and Bill Belichick somehow comes in play here, and Bill finds a way to sneak down there. I really can't see the Patriots going into the season with their quarterback situation the way it is. So they got to have some sort of plan. They're really quiet in free agency, no interest in anybody, it seems. So I think they sneak down there and they go and take Tua. And you have Saban, Lovin, and Belichick, they're boys. Obviously, he knows a lot about Tua. And then, when you go with the relationship between Matt Patricia, Bill Belichick, maybe there's some conversation going if the Patriots can somehow put a player together, a few picks. They don't pick till 23 or something, so they're not, their pick is not going to matter. But if they can somehow package some players and the picks down, I could see them sneaking down to the 3 and trying to get Tua.
It's very interesting what he's throwing out there, and I could totally see the Patriots trying to make a play for that. But, there's a few decent quarterbacks in this draft that really do have some great potential, and I don't know if I see the Patriots jumping up that much. However, with that said, the Lions, I could totally see flipping this pick, and once again, I'll throw out there that the Chargers might be the benefactor of their generosity. There's a lot they could deal up. When I was just talking about Desmond King as well, and the Lions have been one of a few teams that have been knocking on the door of the Chargers. Maybe they could package him up. Maybe they could move him out. A 6 for a 2 is not a huge swing. You just throw in a couple sweetener in there as well. So maybe the Chargers could be in play here. But to be honest with you, I see the Lions. They've done this time and time again. They take the least sexy pick. They take the boring pick. They do have a hole to fill at cornerback now with Darius Slay going out the door to Philadelphia just a few weeks ago. They lost a lot of money off the payroll there. They could bring in a young guy, save a lot of dough here, and he's better than any other cornerback in the free agent bin currently. It's not a sexy play. I think the cornerback market is pretty weak. I don't know why you would spend a pick that's this high for one, but that's what everyone is saying about these guys. That's where the rumors are leading. That's where the odds are falling, and I think they go with Jeff Okudah at defensive back.
Interesting opinions from both you and Davis there, Ryan, but I am inclined to believe the Lions keep the pick and they will take Okudah. Trading down and grabbing a bunch of picks makes the most sense. It's the smart thing to do, but it is full-on panic mode in Michigan after 2 disastrous seasons under head coach Matt Patricia. Jobs are simply on the line, and they cannot wait around for second and third round picks to develop, which will likely take a few years. They need to improve now, and drafting the quarterback will immediately boost their last place pass defense. And as Ryan mentioned, the Leos moving Darius Slay. I don't see the newly signed Desmond Trufant taking a leading role, so Okudah does have a chance to shine here right from day one.
All right, pick number 4, New York Giants. Top of the list there is Isaiah Simmons at plus 150. Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah Simmons does top the odds list here for this pick. Tristan Wirfs is listed second there with plus 180. You can go with the field, any other pick, plus 500. Same thing with Jedrick Wills. Mekhi Becton is at plus 700 here. I believe that the Giants are going to go with Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa. Believe it or not, you're not allowed to bet on Wirfs at Bet Online right now. He is the lock. So they believe so much that they're going to take this guy that you're not even allowed to touch it. So, it's pretty crazy some of the stuff some of these sites are throwing out there. But, as a lineman, the guy ran a 4.85 in the 40. Are you kidding me? At 320 pounds? It's ridiculous. And no longer are you protecting Eli Manning. You need an offensive lineman that's mobile, that can move around and move the pocket with you for Daniel Jones. Same thing for Saquon Barkley. They need someone to open some doors there for that guy. And especially, coming up, you're going to have to be talking extension with Saquon as well. You're going to want to keep this guy happy, and the guy that's going to do that, I believe, is Tristan Wirfs.
Yeah, before we press record on this chat, I was all in with Isaiah Simmons at this spot, but I'm going to reverse course because I like what Ryan just laid out there. It definitely makes a lot of sense. One of the biggest complaints from Giants fans in recent years has been their porous offensive line, like really limiting Barkley's opportunities and continually placing him in bad spots to get hurt. Drafting Wirfs will be a huge safety blanket for Daniel Jones as well, because I expect the young quarterback will take a pretty big step next season, and he'll probably feel a lot more confident in the pocket if he has that big man protecting him.
All right, with the 5th pick currently, Miami Dolphins. 2 odds there, minus 1250. Offensive player at minus 150 and defensive player at plus 600. Adam.
Yeah, Alece, this is when the draft gets really fun because there are those 2 quarterbacks up for grabs, and we are kind of expecting to go back-to-back, Tua and Justin Herbert. It is interesting, the mock draft guru, ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr., raising some eyebrows this week. He listed Herbert above Tua, citing injury concerns. In fact, there's been a lot of chatter about teams getting increasingly worried about the long-term health of Tua. Kiper even thinks that there's a chance he slides out of the top 10. I don't think Miami can afford to pass up on him, though. Dolphins desperate to reverse their fortunes here. The potential for a franchise quarterback to just fall into their lap at 5 is just too tempting to pass up. As for the prop that Alece threw out there, though, it's got to be an offensive player at minus 150. Even if they surprise everyone and pass on Tua, or if he's already taken, they'll likely take Herbert. It's not really a bad consolation prize. So I will be jumping on that prop, the minus 150 for offensive selection.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, yeah, everyone's throwing out the Herbert name. It's weird. He goes in ebbs and flows. 5 weeks ago, everyone's saying this Herbert kid. The next week, they forget about Justin Herbert. The next week, this Herbert kid, he's amazing. The next week, it's Jordan Love. So everyone's bouncing around, but the one stable name out there has been Tua all the way through. I have to believe that medicine has improved since the Bo Jackson days. The dislocated hip, obviously that's a big injury, but I have to believe you can come back better, you can come back stronger. It's not like it used to be back in the day where if you have a career-threatening injury like that, well, the writing's on the wall. Well, not so much. Some great quarterbacks have come back from, just as worse or maybe even possibly worse as well. You look at Drew Brees, you look at Tom Brady coming back from torn Achilles. I mean, guys have done it, and they've gone on to some great things. So I see the Dolphins not hesitating here. I see him taking Tua. It's a sexy pick. But at the same time, the Dolphins have no run game. After giving up Kenyon Drake for pretty much peanuts, and after watching that Kalen Ballage project completely fail, the guy, off the field, that's a different story altogether. But on the field, he did absolutely nothing for these guys. The Dolphins need a run game. They don't really have proven receivers as well, so they're going to need an accurate QB. That is Tua. He's a guy who's mobile as well. He can move around in the pocket. He's a sexy-looking pick. He's going to bring fans back to the Hard Rock. Tua is the pick here, if he's still available. If there's no trades, there's no splashes, yeah, the Dolphins are taking Tua. Guaranteed, I'm saying.
All right, I like it. LA Chargers at number 6. Odds are -500 for an offense player, defense plus 300. We're welcoming back NFL expert and former Charger from the days of the San Diego Chargers, Davis Sanchez. Davis, which way do you think your former team is leaning at number 6?
Okay, if Tua's there, then you take Tua with that pick. But I don't think they will go Justin Herbert if he even is there. So the pick for me is the next best player available, and that's Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker from Clemson. This guy has DB speed. He's as athletic as they come. And here's the key for the Chargers. You look at the AFC West. You obviously have Patrick Mahomes, and now you have Kyler Murray, who is also dynamic with his legs. If you don't have a guy in the middle that is not just a fast linebacker, because fast, as you've seen, it's not good enough in the NFL with the athletes that have a quarterback now. But you need someone who's special, and Isaiah Simmons is that guy. He has the length, the quickness, and things of a free safety. Some things he'll actually play safety, probably strong safety. But so I think they go Isaiah Simmons strictly because the division they play in, they're already loaded on defense, obviously. But this right there would make them would take them over the top and make them one of the best defenses in the NFL and help them get over the hump.
He makes some great points, and on a lot of different bullets there, he took the words right out of my mouth. I think absolutely they go Isaiah Simmons, and I think they're going to go with the plan that I threw out there earlier when I said my steal bet, and that they go after Jalen Hurts. Why would you not? Either late in the first round, you're trading just a few things for him, or with your second-round pick. They got a high pick in the second round, so why not? When you look at the Chargers' defensive makeup, obviously bringing in Chris Harris Jr., they're pretty well-rounded here and there, Linval Joseph and whatnot. However, there is a bit of a hole still at that linebacker spot after Thomas Davis took off, went to the Redskins to reunite with Ron Rivera. You've now got a big hole there, and Denzel Perriman is your linebacker leader? I don't think so. On any other team, this guy is the number 2 or number 3 guy in line behind somebody great. They need somebody great, and that is Isaiah Simmons. To Davis's point, you need a guy that can run after these mobile quarterbacks in the AFC West, which in my mind is going to be one of the highest scoring, most exciting divisions in football this coming season. So I think that's a pretty big thing. Like you said, if Tua is available, you can't pass that up. You have to snatch him. But I think he's going to the Dolphins, so I think that's a moot point. And you look at the other guys right now. Herbert, I don't like him as a fit in that offense. And you can obviously tell that Anthony Lynn wants a mobile quarterback. That's why he's putting all his faith in Tyrod for this year and potentially next as well. You look at Jordan Love, and it's a guy with a resume that's not that amazing. In the Mountain West, they finished 3rd, Utah State. That's not incredible, behind Air Force and Boise State, and who are their quarterbacks? Exactly. You got to go to Google for that. So, I don't see Jordan Love going 6th overall. I don't see them spending the pick on Justin Herbert. If Tua's there, absolutely. If not, Isaiah Simmons would be a brilliant selection, and they would leave this draft with one of the best classes probably in the last decade for the Chargers.
Yeah, Simmons paying 3-1 right now, plus 300. I definitely agree with Ryan, and I think you jump on that line before it moves in the other direction, because this is only going to gain traction as the week goes on. If Simmons is still on the board, it is a potential steal. All this talk of quarterbacks for the Chargers, as Ryan just laid out, I like them to wait and make a play for Jalen Hurts, either trading up to the tail end of the first round or waiting for their pick in the second round. And the interest is certainly mutual, as the Chargers have held a virtual meeting with the quarterback earlier in the week. So maybe Ryan and I have a bit of a different reasoning, but we're on the same page. Chargers to take a defensive player is a great play and a great value.
Head to WSN.com for tons of betting guides for beginners and anyone wanting to learn more about strategy and how sports betting works. Looking at pick number 7, the Carolina Panthers. Odds there are -450 for defense and plus 275 for offense. Ryan.
The Carolina Panthers are in need of a lot of things right now. They fixed their need at quarterback, even though I'm not too stoked on Teddy Bridgewater, I'm sure like many. They extended Christian McCaffrey, franchise player. Great move. Absolutely. Made him the highest paid running back, as he should be. They added Robbie Anderson to the wideout core, so you got your number one there. You're good. But there's still plenty of question marks all over the place. Tight end, defensive line, defensive back, safety, linebacker, you name it. There's a lot of weakness across the board in Carolina. So where do you go? I think it's one of those things where you kind of just take the best player out there that can help you now in building towards the future. And for me, that's Derek Brown out of Auburn, the defensive lineman. This is, of course, suggesting that Isaiah Simmons is off the board, that the Chargers or whoever, somebody else takes him. Otherwise, obviously, they're going to take Simmons. But if not, I see Derek Brown as the selection here. They need to fix a lot of issues, as mentioned, but when it comes to the O-line especially, they can fix that in later rounds. They've got a pretty high pick there in every round from there on out, and some traded for picks as well. So I think early on, they take the best possible player, and for me, that's Derek Brown.
Yeah, full credit to Ryan again for sniffing out who I was going to take in the 7th spot. As we discussed over the last couple of weeks, we agree things are not going well for Carolina, and they will not go well this season, but it would be a strong strategic play to draft Brown. He's still on the board, if he's still on the board at that point. The ultimate competitor. Looking at his game tape, really tough to identify an off game he had at Auburn last year. The Panthers, as Ryan just discussed, need a lot of help. Brown should be able to step in and at least start the rebuild on somewhat of a positive note.
Arizona Cardinals with pick number 8. Again, their odds for offense minus 400. For defense, it's plus 250. Adam, let's start with you this time.
Yeah, the Cardinals have made their offseason game plans very clear, and it's get Kyler Murray a better supporting cast. And I think they continued with that trend on draft day. After they acquired DeAndre Hopkins, they have Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk in the mix. You think they would stay away from a receiver? No, you're wrong. I think the first receiver off the board is Jerry Jeudy, and he lands in the desert. It would give Arizona one of the deepest receiving cores in the league. The youngster would get Hall of Fame mentorship from Fitzgerald. There's a lot of work to be done to turn the Cardinals around, but drafting Jeudy is a fantastic start.
You're opening my eyes here a little bit, Adam. That's not a bad pick at all. I mean, yeah, Larry Fitzgerald, I'm surprised that he just keeps going and keeps going. Obviously, production has not decreased that much, but the guy's getting a lot older, so you need somebody to step in. With Christian Kirk there, that's a nice step in the right direction. Jeudy definitely would help shore up that wideout core. I do like that pick. However, I'm going to go in a bit of a different direction, but still, nonetheless, I mean, you look at the odds, and this plays right into it. I still think they're going with an offensive player here. The Arizona Republic actually coming out the last couple days and saying in a mock draft they're going to flip both Chandler Jones and Patrick Peterson for picks. I don't see that happening. I don't know why you'd take a step back on the defensive side of the football. I don't think that Arizona is that far off in the NFC West, to be honest with you. They just need a couple pieces here and there to get them moving. And the big blaring stat for me from last season, they finished with the 8th highest QB sack percentage last year, 8.28%, meaning that almost 9% of the time they snapped the football, the heat was on Kyler Murray. They need to shore up that O-line. They need some help there. And with Tristan Wirfs long off the board, playing for the New York Giants now, according to our mock draft, they're going to go with Mekhi Becton out of Louisville, 6'7", 364 pounds. The guy has a wingspan over 7 feet, and you're going to need that to help block in either direction and be quick on the move for Kyler Murray, because we've seen that guy when he turns the legs on. It's crazy. So you need an O-line that can keep with him, and Mekhi Becton is a step in that direction.
Head to WSN.com for expert online sports book reviews that let you compare all the best legal sports betting sites available in the United States. With pick number 9, Jacksonville Jags. Their odds there, minus 165 for defense and plus 125 for offense. Ryan, where are you at?
Yeah, I think that they're going to go with, it's a tough call. I mean, there's so many things that they could do. I think this is another one, though, where they just go with, the best possible player out there, kind of like Carolina. But you look at the defensive side of the ball, Yannick Ngakoue wants out badly. They want a first and then some. They want a farm for this guy, and they're not going to get it. But he wants out. Jalen Ramsey's gone. A.J. Boye is gone. Calais Campbell is gone. They really need to step things up on the defensive side of the football. A lot of blogs and tweets out there suggesting that they go offensive tackle, and Andrew Thomas would be the next guy in line there. But I see the pick going in a different direction. Christian Fulton, the quarterback out of LSU. He's the 10th best prospect according to Pro Football Focus. focus, and I think he'd fit in nicely there to take over where Jalen Ramsey left off. Hopefully he's got just slightly less of an ego than Jalen Ramsey. He might fit in a little bit better in that defensive core, but nonetheless, they really need to start building that defense back up. You've got Gardner Minshew. You've got Shark on the other side of the ball. Obviously, Leonard Fournette there still. You can give the offense some time off, maybe focus on some depth pieces later on in the draft. Early on, though, you got to hit defense, and I think that's the direction they're going.
I've been playing this mock draft pretty safe, Ryan and Alece, and here's where I'm going to shake things up because he hasn't really been linked to them at all, but I think it's the perfect match. I think the Jaguars take quarterback Justin Herbert. I have him sliding a bit down the board to this spot. Jacksonville linked to the likes of Jameis Winston and Cam Newton, but if they are truly committed to a rebuild, Herbert can inject a bit of that badly needed youthful energy into the lineup. Gardner Minshew is a capable quarterback, but he's not going to revolutionize football in Jacksonville. Herbert has that potential. I'm calling it. It is going to be one of the draft day surprises.
Wow, I like it.
Cleveland Browns hold pick number 10. I don't know what to think about the Browns. It's like they're just terrible every single year, but we're going to look at it here. Minus 700 for offense, plus 400 for defense. Ryan, who do you think the Cleveland Browns, or where do you think they're going to go?
Even when the hype is there, at least, they still manage to be the Cleveland Browns. The Browns we know and love. And they just actually, today, they revamped their uniforms, and they're going back to the older look, too. So that look we know and love of the losing franchise that never could make the playoffs, well, it's back. So we'll always recognize them. Yeah, so this is where I see Andrew Thomas of Georgia. I mentioned him just a moment ago. He's ranked as high as number 1 offensive lineman on a lot of people's different draft boards, and he'll fit in nicely here protecting Baker Mayfield's blind side and Nick Chubb up the middle. If Thomas, for whatever reason, is long gone at this point, I'm going to double down on O-lineman here, and I'm going to take Jedrick Wills Jr. out of Alabama. Either way, though, it's an offensive player. The odds suggest that you're not going to win a ton of money on the Cleveland Browns here, so really no point even betting on it. But yeah, they're going to go O-lineman. It's a safe pick. I mean, this high at number 10, you're not going to get anything too sexy. There were rumors flying around the last couple days that the Vikings are knocking on the door about Odell Beckham Jr. If that's the case, if he gets moved before the draft, maybe a wide receiver goes here. But I think they're going to play it safe, and I think they're going to go with the offensive line.
Yeah, I'm not quite sold on Thomas like Ryan is here, but I do really like your second option, Ryan. The Browns' offensive line, as you just detailed, was a disaster last year. Can't emphasize it enough. And on the left side, no disrespect to Greg Robinson, but Wills would be a massive upgrade. Protecting Mayfield is a number 1 priority. Obviously, Wills was a stud at Alabama in opening up running lanes. And if I'm Nick Chubb, I'm on the phone with Browns management right now pleading, please draft this guy immediately. Because if he gets into the Browns lineup, I think Nick Chubb, will find the end zone with regularity next season.
Pick number 11, New York Jets. O-line minus 550. Defense plus 325. Ryan, where do you think the Jets are going?
Yeah, it's again, you're not going to win money on this one unless you're betting a lot of money at that minus 550. I think it's going to be an offensive player again. I don't think the Jets are going to surprise anyone except for maybe Mr. Adam Forsythe here, because he already said Jerry Jeudy's off the board. I don't see them going in that direction anyhow, but I do see them taking a wide receiver after losing Robbie Anderson, who is their undisputed number 1. Quincy Enunwa, he's still a question mark. They need a guy that can catch the football. And what separates a number 1 from the number 2 or 3 yards after catch? You need a guy with toughness. You need a guy who can battle through. And in my mind, that's CeeDee Lamb. And on my board, in my draft, he's going to be the first wide receiver off the board here in a very deep wide receiver class. And right now at Bet Online, you're getting plus 140 odds on him as well. I think you should make a move on that. Quickly pull the trigger. And I actually see the wide receivers going for the next couple picks here. So those top 3 wideouts, they're going to be going pretty quick here. But it starts with CeeDee Lamb, and it starts with the New York Jets.
Oh, throw a little tease in there. I like that, Ryan. Ryan had this next player that I'm picking going to the Cardinals at number 8, but I think he slides down just a touch to the Jets at 11. And the odds on New York going with the defensive players paying off at plus 325, so it's pretty solid value. Mekhi Becton is a human tank. 6'7", 340, those numbers are terrifying. And as we saw the combine, it doesn't get in the way of his insane athleticism. Similar to the last team we discussed, the Browns, the Jets are desperate to get help for the quarterback. Well, they have an absolute specimen, and Becton playing in front of Sam Darnold will surely help.
Okay, the Raiders sitting at number 12 here. Prop for it, offensive player minus 280, defensive player plus 185. Another team that could use a little kick in the ass. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, at least definitely. There's increasing chatter, though, in recent weeks where the Raiders might surprise everyone and snag quarterback Jordan Love with the pick, who Ryan discussed earlier in the show. I don't think it's completely out of the question, but I still think they target a wide receiver. Just a hunch. Ryan will probably feel the same way as he teased up moments ago. I personally think it is CeeDee Lamb at this spot. He will be their target. I already have Jerry Jeudy off the board, and the Raiders seem to be favoring Lamb over Henry Ruggs. The Oklahoma Star will shine under the bright lights of Vegas, and he will immediately become a star. Bank on it.
I like it. Not bad. I mean, at the end of the day, whether you go with my mock draft here, whether the Raiders do, or your mock draft, they're walking away with a fantastic player. I think of those wideouts, Jerry Jeudy is the guy here. He becomes the inaugural Las Vegas NFL draft pick, the highly coveted. Right now, Oakland's done a great job shoring up that run game with Jacobs last year. Darren Waller looks like he's got the tight end position wrapped up with a bow, no problem. But a wideout is where they really struggle. I mean, Hunter Renfrew showed some flashes in the pan last year. Tyrell Williams did not turn out to be the player that they thought he could be or hoped that he might be. They desperately need some hands out there, and I think they're going with Jerry Jeudy.
All right, the 49ers snag pick number 13, and for the final time, we welcome back our NFL expert and former NFL defensive back, Davis Sanchez, to the show. Davis, San Francisco is on the board. Who do you like?
This is maybe the deepest wide receiver class in a long, long time. Everyone talks Jerry Jeudy, obviously CeeDee Lamb, obviously a lot of conversation. He's probably the best overall receiver in this draft. But when I look at the Niners, and they were a fingertip catch from Emmanuel Sanders away from, in the last 2 minutes of that game, from winning the Super Bowl, what they're missing, the one thing they're missing is a speed guy, and that's Ruggs from Alabama, the Blazer. Imagine this. Imagine Kyle Shanahan calling plays with the zone run game he has. He tightens down those splits, but brings the wide receivers in, gets them matched up against safeties, which they're always doing in that run game, and then have a guy going 4-2. If they can manage to get, and they have to get a receiver that can go, because Deebo Samuel, who they got last year, was as good of a find as you're going to get at the receiver spot for a rookie. But he's a guy that works between the numbers. He's physical, he's tough. But Ruggs is a guy that takes the top off the defense. That Niners offense was not explosive last year. They were good. They were actually almost great in what they did with ball control, but they weren't explosive. I see the Niners taking Ruggs with that spot. I think those other two receivers will be off the board, but Ruggs seems to fit what they do better anyway.
Yeah, I think Davis, again, is hitting the nail on the head here. I mean, there's a couple scenarios that could play out. I mean, I can see the Vikings actually trading up, trying to get their hands on Henry Ruggs. But if he's there at 13, and I believe he will be, I think the San Francisco 49ers are going to jump on him as well. After Emmanuel Sanders took off, they need to replace him, and they're going to move Deebo Samuel into that position. So for PPR leagues next year, I'm thinking Deebo is going to be awesome. He's going to get a ton of catches, but he's not really going to pile up the yards. They need a deep threat, and that is going to be Henry Ruggs. We've compared him so many times on this show. He gets compared all over the place to Tyreek Hill. He's the second coming of Tyreek, of the Cheetah. And there's a big hole left to fill there after DeForest Buckner was traded away to the Indianapolis Colts. But at 13, I don't think you're going to get that premier talent you're looking for at that position. No more than you could later on in this draft anyhow. So I see them maybe looking to fix that later on in the first round potentially, or into the second and third. But here, if Henry Ruggs is there, and again, I believe he will be, I think he's going to be a San Francisco 49er next season.
Interesting. I'm not quite sold on them taking on offensive player like everybody else, but there is going to be a couple of really solid defensive options available in this spot, and I just don't see them passing up on my guy. Javon Kinlaw of South Carolina, the defensive tackle, 6'5", 315 pounds. He has the perfect mix of speed and strength for the 49ers system, and he's drawing comparisons to another player who had a stellar career, you might say, Richard Seymour. So if it's anything close to that, I think this is a huge win, and San Fran should snag this guy.
Pick number 14 belongs to the Buccaneers, and I actually just have to mention, I was kind of coming around, because obviously I've got Tom Brady now. I was coming around on Brady a bit. I've never been a big fan, but he'd done a few things that I liked. And then I caught his trademarks that he was working for. Did you guys catch this?
Tampa Bay.
And Tom, what was the other one? Tampa Brady was the other one as well.
Yeah. Oh,
and then
man.
I was back off the Brady train. I was like, nope. But they got pick number 14. Offense minus 250, defense plus 170. Ryan, what do you see Brady's Tampa Brady Buccaneers doing?
Let's all agree right now that we never use the phrase Tampa Brady or Tampa Brady or whatever again. Let's just end that right now.
It's a deal.
Wasted money on those trademarks in my mind. But nonetheless, they do need somebody to protect Tom Brady. That is a big need over in Tampa Bay right now. Obviously, what you saw last year with Jameis Winston, I mean, that was no accident. A lot of people are throwing it on Jameis, saying, oh, it's Jameis's fault. He can't throw at anybody. He felt the heat all the time in that pocket. Now, given Tom Brady is a lot smarter quarterback, he hears the footsteps, he's going to either chuck it out of bounds, throw it at the ground, or he's going to find a guy within 5 or 10 yards rather than looking deep, whereas Jameis didn't quite have that ability, more often than not. But nonetheless, you are going to need somebody to shore up that offensive line. There's 2 other needs I see in Tampa Bay as well. The secondary does need some attention, and their run game definitely needs some attention too after losing one of their 2 backs to Washington just a few weeks back. So, but I think that you can look later on in the draft, probably 2nd, 3rd, 4th round, even for a running back. The running back pool is a little bit smaller this year. The talent isn't quite there. So I see them taking Jedrick Wills at tackle here. And as mentioned, they can take a running back. They can look for secondary help a little bit later on. The long shot here, though, and I'll throw it out there, the long shot, the dark horse, is that they take Jordan Love as a predecessor to Tom Brady. And either way you slice it, though, minus 250. It's actually not a bad bet for taking an offensive player here, which I think they'll do.
All right, well, right where I had Wills, you had Thomas. In this spot, we're going to flip it. You have Wills, I have Thomas. I think Andrew Thomas is a better fit. Wills prefers the left side, something the Browns are definitely weak at. Thomas prefers the right. And if the Bucs have a glaring weakness on their offensive line, it's definitely there. With Tom Brady at the helm, it is well detailed. Obviously, 43 years old. He's not going to be exactly the most agile quarterback out there. So the more protection, the better. And having Thomas in front of him is a massive boost for one of the greatest of all time.
And I can't speak English, by the way. Predecessor would be Jameis Winston to Tom Brady. So,
yeah,
but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. The next guy in line. Yeah.
All right, Denver Broncos sitting at pick number 15. Odds there, offensive player minus 300. Defense is plus 200. Ryan, start us off. What do you think the Broncos are doing?
Yeah, in my mind, I think the Broncos are looking wide receiver here. Yeah, they could use some help here and there on both sides of the ball, but I think the big one for them is definitely a wideout. I mean, Courtland Sutton looked fantastic in his rookie season. And last year, though, I mean, with the departure of Emmanuel Sanders, this guy was flushed into the main role, and he just got so many targets. It was overwhelming, and all the defense were doubling up. They were just shadowing this guy all over the field. You need to open him up. You need to give him another option out there, and in my mind, that's a guy that played football just down the street at the University of Colorado. Laviska Shenault Jr. This guy's 6'1", 227. He can turn on a dime. He's got speed after the grab. He's absolutely explosive. Ran a 4.58 in the 40, 17 reps on the bench. This guy is going to be a great player, and everyone mentions the top 3 wideouts in the draft. You could mention top 4, top 5, top 6. There's a lot of props out there right now, even with over-unders at 6.5 for wide receivers taken in the first round. I believe this guy's going to be the 4th wideout off the board, and I believe he's going to Denver to help out the young Drew Lock.
All right, well, I'm going to take another guy who's already off of Ryan's draft board, but we are on the same page. We have a Honda Accord when it comes to receivers, as I think the Broncos welcome the speedster Henry Ruggs to the team. As Ryan just detailed, I think Courtland Sutton is definitely one of the emerging stars of the league. He just needs some help, and adding Ruggs will add an impressive wrinkle to Denver's offense, especially with that speed, and they need it because I am certainly not sold on Drew Lock at quarterback.
All right, there you have it. There are Ryan and Adam's picks for the mock draft. The NFL draft kicks off next Thursday. A reminder, real money daily fantasy sports are a great option for people living in a state where traditional sports betting isn't legal. Head to WSN.com and they can set you up with links to DraftKings and FanDuel. Don't forget to head to WSN.com as well as WSN's YouTube channel for tons of coverage on all sports. Make sure you like and subscribe to Prop Drop. For Adam Forsythe and Ryan Sullivan, I'm Alece Anderson, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
See ya.